In 1997, the handover was complete. This momentous occasion, this moment that had been 99 years in the making, was about to happen. Hong Kong was about to be returned to the mainland. It was no longer a part of Great Britain. Things were about to change. Hong Kong was, from this moment onwards, a different Hong Kong. China was no longer the same China though. It was now a communist country with a vastly different ideal of society than that of Hong Kong, or at least that of which Hong Kong had become accustomed to under British sovereignty. So a few years prior to the handover, Britain introduces an act, sometimes referred to as the One Country, Two Systems policy, a plan that allows Hong Kong to keep its economic and political systems for 50 years after the handover. But ever so slowly, China is ignoring that agreed plan, which brings us to today. My name is Rob and welcome to my channel where we explore the wonders of East Asian cinema, today made in Hong Kong. Constant protests, political uncertainty, and cultural anxiety has become the norm for Hong Kong in today's day and age. This is something that is ever noticeable in film as well, as the once powerhouse film industry of Hong Kong is now a politically charged medium for protest, with many films deliberately choosing to go against mainland thematic ideals, funding and distribution in an attempt to keep a sense of segregated artistic freedom, which often blacklists stars, directors and the products they create/endorse from ever going to the mainland, which could easily spell financial disaster. This political unease, this sense of loss, could be felt way back in 1997, and arguably no film captured this sense of impending change more than Fruit Chan's Made in Hong Kong. Made in Hong Kong was not the typical Hong Kong crime film. Gone was the slick triad gangsters, gone was the slick cinematography. This was a film made with leftover film stock, non-professional actors and shoestring budgets. It was a depiction of true poverty, disillusioned youth and broken families living in the cramped Hong Kong housing complexes. It was not a gun-fu, chow yun-fat starring black suit gangster film, it was a rough and ready reality check. For example, that very same year many directors had already jumped ship to America. John Woo was making Face Off, Sui Hark was making Double Team. The landscape was changing. And being made right on the cusp of the handover, it's hard not to interpret Made in Hong Kong as a somewhat allegory for feelings towards the coming change. The story of the film follows the main character, Moon, a young male who works for a small-scale gang collecting debts. He cares for his friend Sylvester, who is often bullied because of his disability, and Moon is slowly falling for Ping, a girl who desperately needs a kidney transplant, or she doesn't have long to live. When Sylvester finds a fellow schoolmate dead from suicide, he picks up her suicide notes. These letters seem to bring bad luck as Moon's life slowly spirals out of control. For Chan, the image of a suicidal girl represents a feeling of lost innocence and acts as an omen of the things to come. No youthful character in this film has a positive future, and that speaks volumes for the time in which it was made. It's hard not to see a film that portrays a bleak future for free youths as a somewhat representation of the oncoming change and what that means for the next generation. The characters seem lost, even the hope of love holds no reality in their future as Ping's days are limited. What do they have? A life of petty crime, petty violence? It feels like they're simply waiting to end up dead in a gutter as life forgets they're even there. Scholar Natalie Chan draws an interesting link between Fruit Chan's work and Italian neorealism. She draws upon the work of Lam Ling Tong's writing, his analysis of neorealism, as he points out how it is a mode of depicting resistance to oppression. As she states, Made in Hong Kong does the same thing. And this idea of it being neorealism / poetic realism is completely accurate. Like I mentioned before, Made in Hong Kong is a film that shows the realism of Hong Kong, but interspersed between the gritty realism is moments that transcend realism, moments that enter the surreal, moments that function to depict emotion, not reality. In many ways, Chan is making the real more real by showing the moments that allow the children to escape the reality of Hong Kong life. When Moon feels empowered by having a gun, he has a montage of feeling cool, feeling like he is in control, but juxtapositioned outside of that is his friend begging for Moon's help, and Moon is so unaware because of his blaring music. The characters can have moments of escapism, moments that transcend their sadness, but reality is always knocking, and in this scene, it's literally knocking at his door. And because Moon chooses to escape for just a few seconds, he places those he loves in danger. Poetic realism captures the moments that step outside of reality. They are cut between extreme depictions of reality, which makes the real even more real and the poetic even more special. We leave wanting more of those special moments, feeling thankful for those special moments. But for Chan, these are fleeting moments, moments that might not exist in the future of Hong Kong. Chan has stated that he never intended to make a film about the handover, but it's hard to believe he wasn't at least subconsciously influenced by it. There is an anxiety present and it's hard not to notice. Made in Hong Kong feels more relevant and prophetic today than when it was made, as right now we can see the constant political unrest unfolding in Hong Kong, and that makes Made in Hong Kong all the more powerful. I would highly recommend watching the film if you are interested in the current political situation in Hong Kong. I'm also going to leave a few articles down below if you want to read a little bit more about the current situation. And I will leave the link to the Stand With Hong Kong website, which lets you know about any ways to get involved in supporting them. Overall, Made in Hong Kong is more important to watch now than it ever was. It represents a time of importance for Hong Kong, a time of change. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, comment, subscribe and do all those nice things you always do. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.